JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and Brian Sexton have all the news and information to get you ready for today's game. The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, and by TIAA Bank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Good afternoon and welcome to TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville for the start of the Publix Tailgate Show. 3 hours to get you ready for kickoff of the divisional game. Normally I have a little script, try to set the scene, but let me just tell you honestly what this is. It was thought there were a big three in the AFC, and that big three were Mahomes and the Chiefs, Allen and the Bills, Burrow and the Bengals. But after last week, it appears there's now a big four. You can throw Lawrence and the Jags in the mix, and they're the big four and the final four. And the story is really simple. If you want to get where Burrow was last year, where Mahomes has been before, you got to get through these teams. The Jaguars today hope to make a statement about where they belong in the hierarchy of the AFC, and you've got to get past Mahomes and the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. Welcome in Brian Sexton along with Mike Dempsey. And Mike, it doesn't get any better. I hesitated because next week would be better and the week after would be better. But when you come into the season hoping to turn a corner and show that you are a better football team, and you find yourself in Kansas City among four teams left in the AFC, it's tough to have a better situation than the Jags are in right now.
No, look, they've taken advantage of their opportunities in the second half of the year. They never gave up believing that they could get here. I mean, Doug Peterson was preaching it when this team was 3-7, that everything's still out there in front of us, and they've taken advantage of that, Brian. But I would hesitate, as much as I'd like to put them in a big four. I think they've got to win against one of these teams in the postseason before they are in that club. They are knocking on the door, but these teams have more established postseason track records in recent years. So I think they're on the brink of doing it. They've got the potential. As long as you've got the quarterback in today's game, you can look forward to being in that club. I don't know if they're quite in that club yet.
Well, we'll find out today. And that's ultimately the bottom line is we'll find out today. A couple keys, right, just to lay it out before we get into the big stories of the week. I think you can boil it down to three numbers, right? You've got to frustrate Mahomes, 15. You've got to somehow contain 87, Kelsey, and somehow block 95, Jones. If somehow you can answer those three questions for the Chiefs, you can find yourself in this ballgame with a chance to win.
Yeah, particularly Mahomes, though. I mean, look, he can win it without a big game from Kelsey. In the three losses for Kansas City this year, Patrick Mahomes threw for under 300 yards in two of them, had two interceptions in the other one. So affecting Patrick Mahomes, making him play less than his best is obviously, I think, the number one ingredient to defeating Kansas City, or at least putting yourself in position to do that.
All right, kickoff comes your way about 4:30 here. Well, there at Arrowhead Stadium. Brian and Mike with you. First hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. And Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by the good folks at VyStar, who remind you to do good and to bank better. And so here we go with the big stories of the week. And here's the biggest one. And the thought, house money has been thrown around consistently. The coach says they're happy to be there, but they're not just happy to be in this thing.
Whether it's our money or house money, we're here. And it's a credit to those players in the locker room and the coaching staff for, believing in each other, obviously working hard. What we've done down the stretch, regardless of the mishaps, we're here, I try to block out the best I can with the team. You just block out the noise. You block out the negativity. You block out whether it's lack of respect or whatever. We have a young quarterback, whatever it might be. We're one of four in the AFC left. And that says a lot. It says a lot about these guys. And, we're excited for the opportunity.
Look, I think house money refers more to, Brian, fans' perspective on things, right? Like, if you're a fan and you say, hey, look, I still want them to win. I'm rooting for them to win. I'm going to be devastated if they lose, but I might get over it a little bit more quickly when I look back and reflect on division title, sweeping the Titans for the first time since 2005, winning a historic comeback fashion playoff game last week. And if you lose to the number one seed in the AFC, you're not happy, but it's kind of understandable. It's acceptable to some degree. The team doesn't have to think that way, and I don't think they're going to think that way, and that's why they're continuing to play on. If they just accepted their fate, they probably wouldn't have made the postseason to begin with.
Well, and to your point, players don't know how many opportunities they have to get back to this point. You don't know whether you'll be in that same city, whether you'll be in the same situation, whether there aren't key injuries. You just don't know. I can remember in 1999 thinking, well, the Jaguars will be back, AFC Championship game, and they didn't get back until 2017, and that's the mentality that players have to have, is it's right here and right now.
Right. Same with the 2017 team. You had plenty of reasons to believe that would be sustainable, at least for a short window of time.
2-3 years.
You think with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence combining, the window could be vast, but in any given year,
you don't know.
Injuries can hit. Other teams can acquire players. You can have bad breaks. Any number of things can go wrong. It's right there right now. You're one of 8 teams left. Win 2 games and you're in the Super Bowl. Take advantage of that today.
So a week ago, the Jaguars had the fewest amount of playoff games by their football team played in, right? And, of course, that figures with such a young football team. But a week later, they've been through the wars, and the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, understands that playoff football has a completely different vibe to it.
Difference is, you win and you keep going, you lose and you're done. So there's that sense of urgency of just, I don't want to say it this way, but just the desperation of doing everything you can to win the game, and you feel that on both sides of the ball. And it's that way in the regular season too, but it's just another level just because everybody knows, this is, especially now we're in the divisional round, we're getting deeper and deeper in this thing. People know what's on the line, and guys just willing to do whatever it takes to win. And so there's that level of intensity, and you're going to get everybody's best shot, so you got to be prepared. And at the end of the day, it's the same game. You play it the same way. Just because it's the playoffs, you don't change what you do. But at the same time, we all know how big of a game it is for us and for Kansas City and everybody.
And while the Jags have only played 1 official playoff game, they may as well have played 2, because the Tennessee game was a win-and-you're-in type scenario. But I hope, Brian, whatever acclimating needed to be done, I hope is over with now. Can't let the other team dominate you for 28 minutes before you settle into this football game. This team's not going to allow you to come back from a 4-touchdown deficit.
Since you say it like that, here's the most obvious point of the week from tight end Evan Ingram.
All I know is we can't do that against the Chiefs. I think the biggest message that we have to really, relay all week is, how we played that second half. We got to start that way. We have to make it a point to start fast, to score points. It's going to have to be a full team win. It's going to be a full team game. Like, a defense can't be making all the plays. We're struggling. Like, it has to be the best complementary football we played all year to beat this team. So. That demands us to start fast, to score touchdowns fast, and help out special teams and defense.
And the difficulty is Andy Reid is so good coming off a bye. Just historically good. His teams have won almost every matchup they've played. And, you're not going to be in the same circumstance as you were last week, Brian. So early on in that game against the Chargers were showing you different looks than they had in the first game of the season. Kansas City's obviously going to mix things up. So you'd like to just say, hey, let's start just as fast as we ended the game last week, but you're maybe going to have to settle in and see what they're throwing at you. So as long as you're not letting them build up a big lead while you're doing that, you're going to be okay.
Jaguars defense knows that it has to play both smart and tough, and Josh Allen was quick to point that out in the locker room on Thursday.
We got to all be where we need to be. It's this is a game where you can't make mistakes, or you can't make a lot of mistakes, because in a game things happen. And we're all human at the end of the day. But we have to limit the mistakes that we make, and we have to be sound on defense. We have to be where we need to be, and we have to play physical. When there's an opportunity to hit him in the pocket, we have to hit him. When there's an opportunity to hit him when he scrambles, we have to hit him. When there's opportunities for somebody to come across the middle, we have to hit him. So we have to make it a physical game. And last time we played them, it was a physical game, but it wasn't physical all 3 levels. And that's our challenge this week, is to try to be as physical as we can all 3 levels and, really dictate this game.
It's tough for the pass rush, right? This is what you want to get him, but you also want to keep him contained, right? You want to hit him, but you don't want to extend drives with silly penalties, and we've seen that happen, and the NFL's on the lookout for that. So I think it's tough to be a pass rusher playing against Patrick Mahomes.
The one thing that you can do, and I say this having been at the AFC title game last year and watching, not the Bengals sack Mahomes all day long, but to frustrate him. They were all around him with their hands in the air, and they took away reads that were simple for him all season long. He was, the only word I can use to describe it is frustrated. This pass rush last week frustrated Justin Herbert in the second half. They've got to do the exact same thing today if they want to get it done. Let's wrap up our big stories here in hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show with Zay Jones, who had a big smile on his face this week. Clearly, October was tough, and guys in that locker room weren't enjoying it. But he's enjoying where this team is right now and thinks that there is something about this team that's worth mentioning.
I've said this in the past. I was blessed and fortunate enough to play for the Raiders for about 3 years, and over time our relationships had developed. Here it seems like things have expedited in a year as far as like how closely we've grown together. So in the sense of that, yes, it's been very special and very unique. And I've seen the development of Trevor and just the way that he carries himself, the way that he talks, and the way that he sees things in the game now that I couldn't say, we're there maybe earlier in camp. Not to say he never had it, but it's just developed. And I mean, and guys' roles are expanding and they're developing. I mean, I love guys, the way they play on this team, their game, and so it's very unique to be a part of for sure.
Who doesn't love Zay? Every time he opens his mouth, right, you like him that little bit more. They did make a priority, the Jags, to bring in good football character guys, right, that to mesh together and have your, the whole be greater than the sum of the parts kind of thing. But the key is, can you bring in those guys who can also play? And the guys that they brought in, for the most part, have all been able to play and contribute significantly this year.
And their top 4 receivers are Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and then going back to last year, Marvin Jones. All 4 high football IQ, high character guys who've improved the locker room. And how often can you say that when you hit on free agency like the Jaguars have?
Yeah, it's been a big key to their success this year, no doubt.
All right, you know what time it is?
I do know what time
the
it is.
Playoff edition continues. More football, more fun, more ET. Here is, without further ado, come on, somebody.
Want to see something cool? Watch this. We got the whole nation screaming, Duval! If they didn't know us then, they definitely know us now. And how many times do I have to remind you?
Man, y'all get off of T-Law.
For all you haters, for all you naysayers, yeah, Trev pulled the magic trick out the bag. But he ain't do it himself. No. That entire team did their thing. But they didn't do it themselves. No. That entire stadium pulled a magic trick out the bag. Duval County, y'all should be proud of yourselves. Because I know I am. It's moments like this that makes me happy to do Come On Somebody. So let's head over to the phone lines and see what y'all talking about. Come on, somebody.
39-year-long Raiders fan now is a Jaguars fan because of Saturday night.
I got a feeling that we're going to have a lot of that happen. Just make sure you work on your Duval.
E.T. Hoove, baby, here.
There you go. What's happening, Hoove, baby?
The Jags aren't afraid of the big bad Chiefs.
I ain't never scared.
Chief fans, have some barbecued crow after the Jags win. Come on, somebody. Duval.
Next up, the chefs. What they got on the menu, we already know.
According to my dog Hoove, baby, they got that barbecue crow.
We never show up to the party empty-handed.
You right about that. Prevente in hand.
It's time to go out to KC. Crush them. Trevor Lawrence is going to drop them dimes. We're going to be on time. Let's go, baby. Come on, somebody. Duval!
Now that's a phone call right there. Come on, somebody.
My favorite Jaguar player of all time, Joey Bosa. Thanks, Joey.
Joey's going to join a prestigious list right next to Frank Gore.
I went from feeling like this was going to be the worst beatdown ever in our history of the playoffs for the Jags to,
we going to the Super Bowl, baby! Woo! Duval!
And you know what we're going to do when we make it to the Super Bowl. Come on, somebody.
The big question is, will Philly fans tear down Doug's statue when he beats them in the Super Bowl? Go Jags!
We getting Super Bowl fever. I see what you did there.
Hey, it's Mark Carnevale calling from California. How about them Jags? Duval!
Para escuchar este mensaje en español, oprima el número 1.
I believe she said it was always the Jags.
The greatest thing that's ever happened to this franchise is Doug Peterson. Don't get me wrong, Trevor's great. He's going to be great for years, and that is the most important position on the field, no question. But without a leader like Doug Peterson, this season would have gone sideways. He is the greatest gift that this franchise has ever got.
Let's circle back around to that after he brings a Super Bowl title to Duval County. But in the meantime, it's almost time for kickoff. For those of you in KC, be safe, be loud, and be proud. For everyone else, meet me at Daly's Place. Come on, somebody.
He left out Morton Anderson. It's like the Jaguar pantheon of greats that didn't play for them. So
love it. Great stuff. Hey, by the way, he mentioned Daly's Place. That's where the Duval Division Watch Party gets started. Lots open at 3, gates at 3:30. I'll jump on stage. I believe James Stewart and John Henderson are going to join me, and we'll get you ready for kickoff at Daly's Place. Brought to you by Farrah and Patron Tequila. Up next, the Publix Tailgate Show.
Set the tone from the first day that I met him. From the first day that I was in the building, you just got a feel for the type of coach he was. He was going to keep it real. He's going to tell you what you need to hear.
That's Devin Lloyd, this week's Baptist Health Player Feature. Plus, CBS sports writer Pete Prisco joins us. The Jags and Chiefs less than 3 hours away here on the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
And welcome back. Publix Tailgate Show, hour number 1 from Jacksonville. Brian and Mike with you here. Mike, did you hear this week the first rule of holes?
First rule of holes?
Holes.
I don't think I did.
Stop digging.
Oh, yeah. If you're
yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a hole, you stop digging.
And the
right.
Jags put themselves in a hole last week. Fair to say, you and Pete talked a little bit about not doing the same thing today at Arrowhead.
Yeah, no doubt. You don't want to dig yourself a hole, and I think part of it is making sure that you're on a good emotional, even keel when you come out, or be energized. And I asked Pete to start things off, based on the drama of the last few weeks, is he worried at all that the Jaguars could be a little bit emotionally spent going into this football game?
Well, you got to get back and start believing in early starts too. I mean, you can't allow that to happen again against Kansas City, or you're done. You're on the road, so it's a different scenario. But Mike, that's the kind of thing that can make young guys start believing in themselves. And I reference 1996 a lot with this team, and I see a lot of the similarities. A young team growing up and starting to believe. And you remember what that 96 team did in the second round of the playoffs. I'm not saying it's going to be the same thing, but when you start believing that you can make plays and win games, which they did in the second half of that game, that starts carrying over to the next game and even into the next year.
Yeah, and we're seeing it. We're seeing the video clips of guys like Roy Robertson-Harris on the sideline yelling at Trevor Lawrence in a positive way, like, hey, we got your back. You do your part, we're going to do ours. And it does seem like this team is very united, Pete, unlike the most recent good Jaguar team in 2017. I think that's the biggest difference, that this team has all the oars pulling in the same direction. They believe in their quarterback, and that wasn't the case 5 years ago.
No, that's the major difference. Look, Blake Bortles did some good things, but this is an elite quarterback. And when you have an elite quarterback who can overcome 4 interceptions, and granted, 2 of them were on him, 2 of them, one was a tip and one was a bad call. But you still throw 4 interceptions. Most guys, even veterans, would have a hard time coming out from underneath that, and he did. That tells you who he is as a quarterback, what he can do, even when things get to a place where it looks really bleak, he can bring you back. And that's the sign of a great quarterback, and I think that's the first moment where people are starting to realize how special he can be.
He's going to need help from his running game, and he got it this past week against the Chargers with Travis Etienne, obviously on that 4th and 1, but over 100 yards and over 5 yards to carry overall. Kansas City's got some really good sideline-to-sideline linebackers, Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. Pete, can Travis Etienne have more success this time around against the Chiefs than he did the first time?
Mike, they're not a big team. You mentioned those 2 linebackers. They're not big linebackers, so sometimes you might be able to just go at them. And what that means is if you can get the guys to the second level and block those 2 linebackers, there's going to be opportunities inside for him to run. And he's a good inside runner, contrary to what a lot of people think. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be going wide on that defense. I think you might have to go right at him, which means you have to block Chris Jones. And that's always the key when you play Kansas City. If you block Chris Jones, you're going to beat him, not just running the football, but throwing it.
Well, and with Trevor Lawrence, they might have to match scores with Patrick Mahomes here, Pete. Now, keeping in mind, the first time around, the Jags recovered an onside kick to open things up. They had the turnover battle in their favor, 3-0. Might not go that way with all those extra possessions. Can this offense get off to that fast start that you referenced earlier and match those scores with Kansas City?
Well, I think it's a necessity in this game. You have to do that. And remember, they also had a touchdown call back for an illegal man downfield in that game that ended up turning into a field goal. So, they didn't exactly dominate, Kansas City. Kansas City didn't dominate them in the game, but they did what they wanted to do for most of the part. But remember, here's the other thing, Mike. Darius Williams was still playing in the slot. They played Monteric Brown and Chris Claybrooks at corner in that game. And then you look at other spots, Devin Lloyd his head was spinning. Travis Kelce just abused him a couple of times because he didn't know where to go. And I think from that point forward, they've been much better. On defense particularly, and we know they can score on offense. So I'm not worried about the offense. My concern for them is, can they rush the passer? The last time they played them, they had no sacks, and it's not exactly a great pass rushing team, even though Josh Allen has turned up his game a notch in the playoffs and in the final 5 weeks. I think they have to be able to get after Mahomes, but you got to be able to keep him on the spot too, because once he gets outside, he's dangerous.
Right, that's the thing with him. He can beat you from anywhere, inside the pocket, outside the pocket, but when the play breaks down, very tough to keep up with everything that they're capable of, all the different permutations. So, Pete, I know what your prediction was at CBS Sports this week. Make it official here. Do you think the Jags will continue on to the AFC Championship game?
I don't. I think Kansas City will win in a shootout. I think it'll be fun up and down, but I just don't think that they're quite good enough to go to Arrowhead and win. But if you asked me, in 1996, if I thought that team could go to Denver and win, I would have told you no, and they did. So, look, this is gravy. This is house money. If they go play loose and free, you never know what happens. But I think Kansas City ultimately will win that game.
There's that house money again, Brian.
Yeah, fits the media narrative as well.
And that's fine.
Sure.
Because none of this really matters, right? Once they kick it off, it's what they've done to prepare themselves for and with this week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I can't wait to see it.
All right, time for our Baptist Health Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute player feature. JOI, the official sports medicine provider of these Jaguars. Well, rookie linebacker Devin Lloyd, Mike, he doesn't remember the specifics of Week 10. That was so long ago. It seems like a different season, but he does know what this defense has achieved since then and why they've gotten better.
Biggest thing I see is the communication. Communication has been on point from all levels last few weeks relative to Week 10. So guys are on the same page. Everyone has a clear understanding of the defense, where to be, and we're playing fast. We're communicating to each other. We're saying the right things, pre-snap alerts, and, we're flying around making plays together.
It was 10 weeks ago. It probably feels like a different season, doesn't it?
It does. This year's been so long. It's been so long. I can't even really remember what happened 10 weeks ago because it feels like that long ago. But I know right now, as we are as a team, relatively healthy, confidence is through the roof, and we're hungry.
Last week, the storyline in here was, well, this is a young team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Now everyone's got it. What does it mean?
We don't worry too much about anything anyone has to say. For us, like I said, we know what we're capable of, and, we feed off each other. Everyone in this locker room, offense, defense, special teams, all plays together, which is huge. And so I think for us, it's just about finding ways to improve from last game, because obviously we didn't play, our best ball last game. So we still want to put together a really clean game, and that's what we're focused on right now.
As a linebacker, 87's a guy you're probably going to see. How do you go about preparing to face one of the best at his position in the league?
Yeah. Future, Hall of Fame tight end, first team All-Pro. And whenever you're going against guys like that, you have to do your due diligence. You got to make sure you're on point with your scouting. And come game time, you got to trust your preparation and be ready to play with perfect technique and execute.
Doug comes in his first season. It's a locker room full of, a lot of guys who hadn't played together before, including young guys like yourself. It seems that there's something special, something unique building in this locker room among you guys. Am I off on that, or do you sense that too?
Yeah, 100%. And, he set the tone from the first day that I met him. From the first day that I was in the building, you just got a feel for the type of coach he was. He was going to keep it real. He's going to tell you what you need to hear. And he's going to let his coaches coach, which I also think is, huge props to him. It makes everything, clear as far as, who goes to who and who communicates what to what. And really, he just brings the energy to this team. We have a lot of young guys, and we need energy. We need to hear that. We need to know what you're thinking. So I think he does that really well. And, like I said, guys are hungry.
As a defense, what was it like watching the quarterback and the offense put together those points last week? And what kind of confidence does it give you guys after having come back from so many down?
Well, I've seen it before. I've seen it since the beginning of the year. And never has my faith wavered in what the whole offense can do, starting with Trevor. Never has my faith wavered in him. Never has my faith wavered in our playmakers. We have a lot of playmakers on offense. O-line has been doing their job all year. So whenever they get the ball, I anticipate them to score. I just have that much confidence in them. Just like I'm sure when we're on the field, they expect us to get stops. We feed off each other.
And I know you lived in Kansas City. You were born there, but you didn't grow up there. So is there a tie? Does Kansas City feel like home to you? Are you excited for this?
It definitely feels like home because I go there and visit my family on my mom's side pretty often. So, they're all going to be at the game. So I know Kansas City pretty well, and it's gonna have a little something extra for me.
Final thought: as a rookie, you start training in January for the draft, and here you are in January still playing. How do you feel physically?
Not as bad as I thought I would be. Thankfully, I've been really on top of my body. Ever since the start of the season, but especially these last couple months, I feel pretty good. Relatively speaking.
I think he's one of the markers of progress along the way this season. Week 10, it was the game where he got benched, right? And here we are now, and he's been consistently on the field and playing better football. There's no bigger test than today for him.
Yeah, and I thought, your follow-up at the end there just kind of went along with what Devin Lloyd was talking about earlier. It's been such a long year. It's hard to remember anything. These guys come out of college, and then it's right into training for the NFL draft, and it's right out of the draft into a mini camp, and it just never stops for that first year. So hopefully things will be able to slow down for Devin Lloyd going forward. But you're right, he has picked it back up. Chad Muma played 40% of the snaps to his 60 in the first matchup, and Muma outproduced him 2-1 in the tackle and assist department. So it's changed a little bit up for Devin Lloyd.
All right, much more ahead, including in about 15 minutes. Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman join us for first rounds on us. But first,
great players will make plays, and you have to have a one-snap mentality where you're going to handle this play as best you can, then you go on to the next one.
That's offensive line coach Phil Rauscher on today's game, the Jags and Chiefs, coming up at 4:30 Eastern Time. This is the Publix Tailgate Show, and this is Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes.
I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at TIAA Bank Field, because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bono's is currently expanding its brand with franchise opportunities throughout the Southeast and beyond. Over 70 years of authentic Southern pit barbecue and owning your own business are a great combo. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more, or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Hold on. You want me to tell them about Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea in just 30 seconds? This is impossible. Hey, I'm Billy from Twisted Tea. How can I explain that first sip of cold, smooth, real brewed tea? So good! And the extra kick you get from just the right amount of alcohol? The twist of lemon, Wait, what? We're almost out of time? Oh, shit. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Look for the bright yellow cans wherever you buy beer.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
And welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show, which is brought to you by our friends at VyStar Credit Union, who remind you to do good and bank better. And coming up at 3:30, the gates open out at Daly's Place for the Duval Division Watch Party. I'll be joined on stage at 4:10 by John Henderson and James Stewart. It's all brought to you by our friends at Farrah & Farrah and Patron Tequila. Time now for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
Well, hopefully today is just the beginning of what becomes the norm around here. That's the Jaguars going deep into the playoffs. If so, they're going to have to solve KC. The AFC runs through Kansas City, and if the Chiefs win today, that'll be a 5th consecutive AFC championship game for both Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And they're not going anywhere. Andy Reid is 64. Mahomes is only 27. They really are the modern-day Belichick-Brady, or I should say today's Belichick-Brady. Then there's Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson will be 55 at the end of the month. Trevor Lawrence is only 23. He won't be 24 until October. Obviously, the future looks real bright here in Duval. Today's game, man, the intangibles are not friendly. As a matter of fact, they're absolutely brutal. Kansas City's healthy. They're coming off a bye. Kansas City has tremendous amount of experience. They're always in these big games. Then you bring in the crowd. It's got the college atmosphere, if you will. There's not a more difficult place to play in the NFL than an Arrowhead Stadium. On top of that, the weather. It's going to be freezing, expecting rain. If it is freezing, obviously, that'll turn into snow. Nonetheless, that favors the Chiefs as well. Jacksonville has to play their best game of the year. All right? There's no other way around it. You can't get behind against this team the way they have the last couple of weeks. So far this year in the first half, Jacksonville averaged 11.1 points in the first 30 minutes. They're going to have to hit that plus today if they plan to stay with Kansas City. There's not a team in the NFL who would take being down by a touchdown at Arrowhead to begin the fourth quarter, except for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They seem to relish in that type of role. Could that really come into play again late this afternoon? There's that old adage, you can't win a game in the first quarter, you can only lose it. Well, that was ripped apart by Jacksonville last week against Los Angeles. This team has been down a score many times this season, and they have been able to come from behind. The major difference, there's not a Brandon Staley on the Chiefs sideline. This is a very well-coached team, and they have fantastic football players as well. If Jacksonville wins today, they're going to have to take some chances. Will it be enough?
And it's time now for our assistant coach feature. And let's be honest, offensive line coach Phil Rauscher should probably be the Jaguars' candidate for assistant coach of the year. The energetic Rauscher has taken an offensive line that has underperformed in recent years, mixed in a rookie center, a free agent guard, and backups at key positions at crucial moments of the season, and has them playing at a high level. But he says it isn't about him. It's about the guys he coaches.
We always say you got to hear the call. Like you got to listen, you got to communicate. And if Luke needs some throat lozenges after the game, that's fine. But he's got to be clear and decisive, and then you just got to echo the call down the line. And we have certain codes and different things that we'll use just in different situations to help each other out. But got to hear, got to be able to hear.
You've got a cohesive unit, despite the fact that you've had to put Shatley in there for Ben, and Cam is out, and Little goes in. Does it make it easier that you have such a tight group to be able to go play in those kind of circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, it's the group loves each other, and they play well with one another, and it makes it. Sometimes there's no communication at all with communication happening, if that makes any kind of sense. Like they kind of they know each other, they know how each other's going to set on certain things or how they're going to attack a certain offender without even having to say it anymore, because they've played so well together and they communicate so well right now in meetings. So that's what's important.
Chris Jones gets a lot of love as one of the best defensive linemen in football, and obviously so. He seems like he can disrupt anything. How do you handle a guy like that, and how much does playing Jeffrey Simmons help you get ready for Chris Jones?
I think playing Jeffrey helps a lot. I think they're both unbelievable football players. I think that you have to take every play as an individual play and understand that great players will make plays. And you have to have a one-snap mentality where you're going to handle this play as best you can, then you go on to the next one. And what you can't allow to have happen is a snowball effect. You can't let one big play turn into two big plays, turn into big three plays. You just got to make sure that you are handling your business one play at a time.
I know you've been asked a lot this week about the play, the 4th and 1 play, so let me be the next one to ask you a little bit about it, for our audience at least. The throwback, going all the way back to the T formation. What was the genesis of that?
I mean, really, it just started with you want to run a sneak play and have the push, and you put 3 guys back behind, then you start kind of looking at different ways that you can attack the defense, and is there a soft edge? Is it soft in the middle? And we just kind of studied and looked at it and said, hey, there's a chance for a big play to hit on the outside here. If we line up like this, they'll pack everybody down inside. And Sometimes you just got to watch tape from the 1930s.
And how easy is that to do?
Perk does a great job. Perk's got all the tape in the world. So, whatever you need, he can get you.
Tell me, pre-snap, did you see that it was going to work just based on what the Chargers were doing?
I had a pretty good feeling that it had a chance of being successful. As long as Chris and Luke could handle Van Noy, I thought the ball would hit the edge and we'd have a pretty good chance.
What does it say about the head coach that he's open to such ideas? And obviously he comes from Andy Reid. You're going to have a lot of those this week.
Doug's awesome. Doug's unbelievable. Doug has most of the ideas. So, most things you see out there are Doug's ideas, and it's fun to work for a guy that wants to be innovative and do new things and really, has to call it. So that's what's pretty fun.
I watch you on the practice field and the way that you work and the intensity that you work with. You've obviously got a family and you're living your life. Can you take the time to enjoy this? Are you enjoying this? How much fun are you having as a coach right now?
This is the most fun I've had in a long time. To work down here in Jacksonville and see the support of the fans and everything, this is good. This is a lot of fun.
And the offensive line has been a solid group all season long. And to be able to say that, having played since week 5 without their starting left guard in Ben Barch, and since week 15 without Cam Robinson, their highest paid offensive lineman, Rauscher really has done an excellent job.
He has. They'll always go down in Jaguar history for being the one who came up with that 4th and 1 call. But really my favorite part of that was we talked about Doug Peterson being the creative mind behind most of what you see on the field, Brian. And this is why it's so important, I think, in today's NFL, when you've got a franchise-type quarterback, that you have an offensive-minded head coach, because if it's the coordinator that's coming up with all these creative things, that guy's going to get poached for another head coaching position somewhere else, and you're going to have to repeat that cycle every few years. Here, Doug Peterson is the genesis behind what we see on the field offensively, and his coordinators are going to be an extension of him, and that's not going to change.
Well, what's interesting is when we talk about the brain trust that Doug Peterson built around this quarterback, we talk about Press Taylor and Mike McCoy. Jim Bob Cooter is the passing game coordinator. He looks around the league and spends time breaking down tape, looking at tendencies and finding plays. Now you mix in Phil Rauscher, who was given the credit for coming up with that play. And I think Maurice Jones-Drew told us, because Maurice and Phil are close from their days at UCLA together, that was a play that Phil picked out of the Rose Bowl from Penn State versus Wisconsin, I think it was. But there's so many offensive minds. What Doug has done is built a staff of like-minded guys. That creates endless opportunities.
Well, we're seeing the results of it, right? Everybody loves working in that environment. Their input is respected and sometimes even put into play in the most crucial moment of the season.
And as we started from the top of this, finding a way to block Chris Jones. All 6'6", 320 pounds of him.
Look.
You know where he's going to line up. He's going to find a weak spot, and I don't mean this negatively towards Tyler Shatley, but Tyler is the guy who he's going to be lined up against most of the time because he has the physical mismatch. He's so much bigger.
Look, he only had 2 tackles in the game when they played the first time.
Yeah,
1.5 sacks.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the thing that I remember the most was him cutting off the outside running lane and the short screen game by just turning guys, Shatley. He didn't do too badly against Sheriff that game as well, and he got out there and pushed Chris Manhertz. Just him moving the line backwards takes away some of the outside runs that they want.
But as a Jaguars offense, if you can control, not dominate, but control Chris Jones, you're probably going to have a lot of success.
We'll see if they can get that done today. That'll obviously be one of the keys for Rauscher's guys. Well, our game day broadcast is also brought to you by PRI Productions. They're the official event production company of the Jaguars. They have everything you need to bring your next idea to life. At 2:30, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show with JP Shadrick. But before we get there, we go to Kansas City and join Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman for First Rounds on Us.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Nothing kicks off your game better than a handful of Georgia peanuts. Power-packed with protein, essential nutrients, and great taste. Georgia peanuts are the MVP for affordability, sustainability, and nutrition. To score life's touchdowns with recipes and fun facts, check out GAPeanuts.com. The perfectly powerful peanut is brought to you by the family farmers of the Georgia Peanut Commission. Peanuts, get your peanuts.
Kessler Creative, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has been a leader in direct mail for over a decade. Using the latest technology, Kessler can now reach your ideal audience even more effectively. Choose from between a couple of response channels, from direct mail to landing pages designed to engage and initiate responses with potential customers. Kessler Creative, Jacksonville, Florida. Results-driven marketing and a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Kickoff coming at 4:30 from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The Chiefs and the Jaguars in the divisional round of the playoffs just over 2 hours away. Time now for First Rounds on Us. And Tony Baselli and Jeff Loggeman join us from the broadcast booth. And this segment is brought to you by UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. First of all, before I ask my question, how about a weather update from what you guys are seeing high atop Arrowhead Stadium?
It's beautiful right now. Yeah. It's a little overcast, but it's not too cold. No, upper 30s, no real wind, it doesn't look like.
Gentle wind.
But the snow is supposed to be coming in. Now, the radar, and I'll let Jeff break down the radar because he's our booth weatherman.
That's right.
It looks like it's going to just hammer us, Jeff, but then you look at the online app and it says only 30%. So what do we make of the weather coming?
Well, Brian, as you know how the stadium sits, our backs are to the west, and that's where the system is coming from, and it puts the probability at 40%. But there's going to be some kind of precipitation, and you just hope that it's snow and it's not rain, just so that it has good conditions here for the game.
All right, guys, how about this for our First Rounds on Us? UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. How do you neutralize, if that's the right word, Chris Jones' impact on the Jaguars' offense today?
Well, you pray first. You don't sleep much the night before if you're the interior three, and then you just hope that he doesn't wake up on the wrong side of the bed. But in all seriousness, you got to double him, and you have to. And what Doug Peterson and Phil Rauscher have done, they'll have a game plan for him. Look for them to wham him early, try to cut him on the backside. They'll try to give him stuff to think about, and then I would be shocked if the protection doesn't go to him almost every time, meaning that Luke Fortner is going to be sliding towards Chris Jones because he's a three technique, and he'll line up on both Sheriff and Shatley. I think he lines up more defensive left, offensive right over Sheriff if you looked at the tape. And so look for a bunch of double teams, and whether you run at him or run away from him, he's just as effective. But I also, thinking about the run game, look for them to try to go horizontal early. Because one of the things you want to do against a big man like Chris Jones, make him run. Get him moving. Because if you play his game right at him, good luck. But if you get him going sideline to sideline, get him tired, get him doing extra work, running, and try to take something out of him.
He's really good, and Brian and Mike, the last matchup, he dominated. I mean, simply put. And so you have to perform better in this game if you're going to have success against them, because he really is the engine of that defense.
So, guys, let me ask you about this idea of kind of running horizontally, getting outside the tackles here. And I understand why you'd want to avoid Chris Jones, but does that not maybe play to the strength of Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, a couple of speedy linebackers?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, those two guys run as well as any two linebackers in the league, and Mike, you're right. But you kind of want to pick the lesser of two evils.
I was going to say, I'll take those two over Chris Jones, Mike.
Yeah. So but it's going to be a challenge either way, and this offense is going to have to try to keep pace and find a way to put pressure on this Chiefs football team by possessing the ball, making sure that they keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, and against this defense, with Chris Jones and the two linebackers, and look, oh, by the way, they've got a couple pretty good edge players in Frank Clark and Carlos Dunlap and Karlaftis. I mean, they're pretty good. I mean, this is a big challenge.
Yeah, but they are good, but they're not great. The only player they have on that defense that is great is Chris Jones. They're solid. I think their secondary can be had. We saw Christian Kirk in the first matchup just smoke L'Jarius Sneed. And remember, this offense played horrible in the first matchup. And I think what it's going to take is if they can bottle up what they did in the second half against the Chargers, and forget about the first half, please, this is going to be a great game. And I really do believe that the ball has been bouncing the Jaguars' way right now on defense, and I think I just have a feeling that it's going to keep on going that way, Jeff. And if they can find a way to get this game into the fourth quarter as a one-possession game either way, I think they win.
Yeah, things get tight.
Well, because the Chiefs will tighten up.
Yeah, they're favored.
Yep.
But here's reality. Okay, this is the fifth time they've been in this situation lately, and they haven't lost yet. So, big challenge, no doubt.
No, it's a big challenge, but I was here last year for the AFC title game when they played the Cincinnati Bengals. And in the first half of that game, for 7/8 of the first half, they were completely controlling that game and had a chance to go really put some distance between them and the Bengals, and they botched the last play of the half. Ended up no points, and the whole game changed when they got into the second half. Cincinnati got going, and you could feel it tighten up, and they didn't make the plays. And so find a way to get this into the second half.
And keep it close.
And watch what happens.
Yep, you want to try to keep it tight. And, the big challenge for the Jaguars defense is most people know. I mean, look,
Kelsey.
They score a lot of points. Kelsey's dominant, and Patrick Mahomes is really good when plays go as designed, but then he might be even better when they go as they're not designed. And that's the challenge.
And, Jeff, don't you think they have an underrated run game with Pacheco and McKinnon?
Well, they don't really want to run the ball, but when they want to, I mean, I think their interior three, the center and the two guards, are the best three in the league.
I don't know about the best three in the league.
Tell me somebody who's better.
Travis Kelce. Yes.
Okay. But Creed Humphrey's right there with him.
Yeah, but he's not Travis
Joe
Kelce.
Tooney's one of the best guards in the league.
He is one of the best guards.
And then that young guard they have on the right side.
I'm just telling you, the Eagles would want to debate that. Who's better inside?
I'd put these three against them.
I'll take Travis Kelce over Ball.
All right, Tony, you alluded to it. We want to see
Jason Kelce.
Second half performance out of Trevor Lawrence that we got last week. And everyone said they can't afford the Jags to fall behind like they did. How do you avoid the slow starts? What is there something Doug Peterson can do to try to manifest that, and have that come to play today?
I don't know if there's any one thing, Mike, you can do. You can communicate it. You have to, drill it into guys' heads. But I think back to all the teams I've been on, and from high school, college, pros. And I've been on teams that start fast, start slow. And coaches try to have gimmicks to try to get you, snap back, bounce back, start fast, whatever. I think it's all, mind games. And I think whatever you have to do to emphasize to this team, which Doug will do his way, that starting fast is critical. But you don't want to do it. It's a fine line, because if you do that too much, then you put all this pressure on yourself as a player, and if it doesn't go right the first couple series, the last thing you want, Jeff, is that, like, oh gosh, it's over. We didn't start fast.
Yeah, and I think Doug has a great mindset in that situation, guys. I mean, look, they've been able to win many different ways this year. And that's, I think, one of the strengths of Doug Peterson. He teaches his team, look, yeah, we like to start fast, but we can win every which way.
And it's a 60-minute game. And that's
right.
The one thing he's communicated this team's bought into. Hey, let's play 60 minutes and see what happens.
All right, yes or no, guys, you've lived through a must-win every week kind of situation back in '96 and advanced very far in the playoffs. Despite that pressure, is there any emotional toll after the last several weeks of what the Jags have gone through that shows up today?
I don't think so. I mean, I remember going into Buffalo '96. We won that game. It was obviously huge for me personally, going against the Defensive Player of the Year and all that stuff. And I remember coming out of that game and showing up to the facility, and everything was about Denver. It was like, okay, that's over.
Done.
Nobody cares.
Yep.
And to me, Mike, it's one of my. If I look back on all the memories of the times I've played football my entire life, those moments in the playoffs are my favorite. Because nothing else matters but the game. Nothing matters. It's just finding a way to win, and that's when it's so freeing and fun if you're a competitor, because you just go out there and play.
Yeah, when you're the Cinderella team, the wild card in the divisional round is just fun. Okay, then the pressure builds if you advance to the championship round, because what is at stake is a Super Bowl berth. So I think this team should be able to play very loose, very free today, feeling like they've got nothing to lose but everything to gain. And you hope that allows them to play confident and allows them to play with great confidence.
Well said. Thanks for it, guys. We'll hear from you in a couple of hours. Have a great broadcast.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Tony and Jeff from Kansas City. I remember those days in 1996 as well, and I'll leave you with this thought. I remember flying on the charter to Denver and wondering how the Jaguars were going to handle Shannon Sharp and Terrell Davis and Alfred Williams and all those great Denver Broncos on a team that ultimately won the next 2 Super Bowls and might have won 3. And they fell behind 12-0, and they just kept plugging away. And before you know it was 13-12 at halftime. And then it was 20-12 and 23-12. So they created opportunities for themselves, and they just never let the pressure get to them. See if the Jaguars can get that one done today.
Yeah, we know they're not going to give up.
I
think
that ain't who they are.
That. I got to ask, available next Sunday?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And I've booked 3 Sundays from now as well, just in case that happens too.
Just checking. We'll take it one at a time.
Right.
But that's fine.
Okay.
Hoping to see you then.
Yep. Hope to be here then as well. Mike, thanks so much. JP Shadrick is with you for the next 2 hours leading up to kickoff. That'll do it for hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio. Enjoy it, everybody.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away from an AFC Divisional playoff game. The AFC South champion Jacksonville Jaguars meet the AFC West champion Kansas City Chiefs. The winner advances to the AFC Championship game next week. Kickoff at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, set for 4:30 Eastern. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. We're in the Jaguars Radio Network studio at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. And, of course, Mike, the Jags completed one of the most improbable comebacks you'll ever see last week. Yeah, you don't want to be in that scenario again this week against the powerhouse Chiefs.
No, you don't. But you know this, if they get down, they've got the capacity to come back. They certainly have got the mental fortitude to not give up on themselves, JP. 27-0 when your quarterback throws 4 interceptions and you get a 5th turnover off the helmet of one of your gunners on punt return. Just, it seemed like nothing was going right for Jacksonville until it did. So, you know, let's start things off a little bit faster here. I think everybody would take their shot if the Jaguars were within 1 score of Kansas City heading to the 4th quarter.
The Duval Divisional Watch Party gets started at 3:30 at Daly's Place. That's an hour from now, presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and by Patron Tequila. Reserve your free seats at Jaguars.com. The parking lots open officially at 3 o'clock, about 30 minutes from now. 3:30, the gates open. Kickoff, of course, at 4:30 today. And here are some of today's top stories. Well, the Jaguars are deeper into the postseason than many anticipated, but Jags head coach Doug Peterson isn't worried about the idea of playing with house money.
Whether it's our money or house money, we're here. And it's a credit to those players in the locker room and the coaching staff for, believing in each other, obviously working hard. What we've done down the stretch, regardless of the mishaps, we're here. I try to block out the best I can with the team. You just block out the noise. You block out the negativity. You block out whether it's lack of respect or whatever. We have a young quarterback, whatever it might be. We're one of 4 in the AFC left. That says a lot. It says a lot about these guys, and we're excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, obviously they understand where they were, where they've come, but Doug Peterson's been in this thing too long to know that they're just going to enjoy the season they've had so far to this point. Go play the football game today.
You don't know what next year is going to bring, JP. I mean, look, we like where the Jags sit in the AFC South, but you can't control slumps, injuries, all kinds of things that can go wrong. You're in position right now to go play 1 game today. You don't have to beat 3 teams. You need to beat 1 team today, the Kansas City Chiefs. And fortunately, I think for the Jags, they've been in this environment this year. Didn't come out on top, but maybe got inoculated a little bit to what they're going to experience today. I'm sure they're going to be revved up in Kansas City. But look, they're not talking about it like that. Fans, you can do that. After the season, you can look back and appreciate how far you've come. But right now, it's about winning the football game.
Trevor Lawrence had a little bit of time to reflect on last week's game before moving on to Kansas City.
I mean, when it's an emotional game, that's what we talk about the guys. It's just like after the game, don't even want to take your pads off because once you take them off, it's done. You're on to the next one. So you kind of just bask in that moment for a minute just because it is special. You got to enjoy them. That's a playoff win here, huge comeback, win by 1 point. I mean, it's a special moment. You got to enjoy it, but at the same time, we got another game coming in 7 more days. So, we took that night and enjoyed it and had some Waffle House and all that, but you got to move on pretty quick.
Well, it was the worst game in Jaguars history, and then it was one of the best performances in Jaguars history, all wrapped up in a 60-minute window there for Trevor Lawrence. How does he carry the momentum, if there is any, from the second half performance to this week?
I honestly don't know, because we've asked that question several times this year. Why can't Trevor start faster? Right? And let's hope that happens. But, where Trevor talked about you don't want to take that jersey off because then it's immediately on to the next game. Well, the Chiefs had a whole week of extra preparation, and Andy Reid almost never loses. His teams almost never lose coming off a bye. So while you want to kind of get into this game a little bit quicker, Andy Reid's going to be looking at that film for the first time. He's going to be mixing things up. He's going to have a good script on offense. And so it's easier said than done, I think, but I think you've got to play with some degree of reckless abandon. I mean, you don't throw it into triple coverage, but I think you got to go out there and feel like you're just as capable of winning this game as Kansas City is and just let it rip, JP.
Wide receiver Christian Kirk had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns the last time out against the Chiefs back in Week 10. He explained this week what they did defensively and what they still do.
The Chiefs are very dynamic on defense and what they do coverage-wise. They like to bring some blitzes, which allows them to play some man coverage, and we were able to take advantage of that at times. But the pressure got there. So we're going to try to look at what we did well against them, and I'm sure they'll have a plan, and we're just going to have to go out there and take it one play at a time.
Christian Kirk, if you don't get hands on him at the line, he's going to get open and get open quick. And if you can get a quick release to him, it's a catch and run. We've seen that so many times, and especially in Kansas City.
Look, if he doesn't drop a pass on the first drive of the game against Kansas City, he might have had a 150-yard, 3-touchdown game. I mean, he was trending in that direction. And this is the soft underbelly of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. If you can block it up front, you can pick on these cornerbacks, JP. We saw it with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones to some extent the first time around. They're going to have to replicate and maybe even top those performances.
Jaguars defense now, the big task against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs today, of course. Josh Allen understands all the weapons they have and respects them, but he also knows it's all about the Jaguars' performance, and it's all internal.
It's all about us. It's all about how we come out mentally, ready to play. How physical is the game going to be, and can we tackle well in the open field, and can we be where we need to be? If we do that, man, we dictate this game. Because we can play, I think we can play against anybody. And I'm not knocking nobody. We know what that type of offense they have, but at the end of the day, it's about us because we got to get to somewhere. And this is another team in a way. It's an important game because it's the next one, and that's the mentality that we all have.
Pass rush has been big for the Jaguars lately, and defensive lineman Arden Key understands the pressure today is key against Patrick Mahomes.
I think just our first time being around each other, for having the first D coordinator, just the whole thing. We just finally found who we are as a defense as far as rushing the passer, and I believe it's the 4-man front. With KC, we got to come alive. 4-man front, we got to come alive because them guys need help in the back end to cover. So we got to rush 4. We got to come with some 5. We got to come with some 3. Just different. We got to throw different things at Patrick Mahomes so we can get turnovers and hit him.
Yeah, throw some different things at him, but don't let him get out of there. That's the one key. If he starts scrambling around and then tossing it 40 yards sidearm downfield or underhanded or whatever he does, flipping the football around, that can be a long day.
Right. Don't get caught watching him in those circumstances as well, because sometimes you just marvel at what he's doing on the football field. He does put the ball in jeopardy when he does that, but he's got a phenomenal amount of talent and he gets away with it more often than not. JP, I think the key is what Arden Key was talking about, no pun intended, if you can rush effectively with 4. The teams that have given Patrick Mahomes trouble in the postseason in recent years are ones that rush 3 or 4 and drop a ton of guys into all kind of combination zones and make it look like there's, 16 defenders out there at times. If the Jags are able to get pressure with 4, that's going to be an amazing sign for them early.
There you have it, some of today's top stories. Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by 5-Star Credit Union. Do good, bank better. Kevin Harlan has the call of today's game nationally on Westwood One Radio. He's been covering the NFL, of course, for about 38 years or so as a play-by-play announcer. I asked him this week what kind of impact around the league a Jaguars win would have today at Arrowhead.
Well, right now, I think everybody loves the Cinderella. We love it in the NCAA tournament. We don't see it as often maybe in some of the sports that have a 7-game series tied with their sport. And so, usually you play 7 games, the better team will prevail. But in the NFL and in college football, it's sudden death, right? It's single elimination, and you are facing that with every game. Listen, last year in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs had a sizable lead at halftime, and all they had to do was hang on. And Cincinnati and Joe Burrow came back and stunned them. The record for road teams in the playoffs is not as lopsided as you would think on one side. It's a pretty level playing field, actually. It's very close to 500. And so I think that gives teams like the Bengals last year hope that they don't blink, they continue to go. And why would the Jaguars blink? They just played the Chiefs this season. They know what they can do. They've handled it. They know exactly what they're going to face. They were down by a ton this past weekend in the playoffs, and the first time they've been there in a while. They handled that. I just think that right now, most knowledgeable people in the league know that on any game and in any location that anybody can win, and it is not a certainty. So the heavy money was toward the Chiefs last year against the Bengals. Cincinnati came from a double-digit deficit and won in the AFC Championship game. And we saw San Francisco almost do it in Los Angeles in the NFC Championship game last year against the Rams. Here we are at the divisional phase. There's no doubt that anything can happen. I don't think a lot of people gave the Giants a great deal of hope going to Minnesota last week against a 13-win Viking team. I'm confident that we'll see a quality game. I don't think that it'll be too big for the Jaguars at all. Listen, you're talking about a quarterback that is a national championship quarterback. He played college. He knows exactly what he's getting into. And I think that's when they shine their brightest, as we saw last week, and I think we'll see this week at Saturday in Kansas City.
The full conversation with Kevin Harlan of CBS Sports and Westwood One Radio on the official Jaguars podcast network. That's up right now. Or visit Jaguars.com and click the podcast link at the top of the homepage, and we'll hear more from Kevin Harlan coming up in Countdown to Kickoff at 3:30 today. And you know what? Yeah, they are underdogs, but you're expected to be the underdog. It's the number 1 seed, for goodness sake. They are the Chiefs. They've been in this place before, but no reason why you can't go up there and compete and go play well in this game.
Underdogs win all the time in sports, right? Otherwise, let's just not play the game, right? And let's simulate it 10,000 times in a computer. And if you did that, the Chiefs are going to win, I don't know, maybe 4 out of 5. That's fine. We're not playing the game in a computer. We're playing it on the field today, JP. The Jags are already going to be one of the buzziest teams this offseason in the National Football League, no matter what else they do from this point forward. But beat Kansas City, and you're going to have people tripping over themselves to be the one that projects the Jags to go the furthest in 2023. So if you want the nation to sit up and take notice, not that they haven't already, this is the one that will really put you on the NFL map.
And it would rank right up there among the top wins, if not the top win in Jaguars history, if they pull this off today.
Sure. I mean, you'd go back to 96 and the likes of, a 4-time Super Bowl team in the Buffalo Bills and a Denver team that was getting ready to win consecutive Super Bowls in the next 2 years. This would be on par, I think, or close. I think more people feel like the Jags have a chance going into this, though, than they did back in 96, and I agree.
Plenty more ahead. We're coming up on Inactives in about 15 minutes. Up next, though, we go back to the broadcast booth for NBC Sports today. Mike Tirico has the call of the game on NBC, and we'll get his thoughts on the matchup in the AFC Divisional Playoff game today. A 4:30 Eastern kickoff time. The Jaguars and the Chiefs coming up. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond. Brooks Rehabilitation has more than 50 years of experience serving the North Florida community with cutting-edge rehabilitation care, ranging from joint replacements, sports injuries, and balance issues to traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, and strokes. Their highly trained clinical teams span across their system of care to include inpatient, outpatient, skilled nursing, assisted living and memory care, home health, and adaptive community programs. Learn more at brooksrehab.org. Brooks is proud to be the rehabilitation provider for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
When it comes to water, choose our team, the winning team. Choose CGC Water Treatment. CGC Water Treatment works, and it works for DG too, former Jags QB, David Garrard.
If you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Discover the Kinetico difference.
Call CGC Water Treatment at 844-CGC-JAGS or visit cgcwater.com. CGC Water Treatment are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars and your local independent Kinetico dealers.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Jags fans, Shaquille Griffin of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know you love when we put the QB in his place with a big interception, and now Luray Boyd Peanut Company is making every pick a winning play with the Peanut Pickoff. Every time the Jaguars make a pick, Luray Peanuts is going to donate to youth football initiatives throughout the Southeast, and the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. We get one play closer to victory, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Everyone wins, except for the other team's QB. But hey, that's his problem.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. The Publix Tailgate show continues. We're inside 2 hours from the AFC Divisional playoff game, the Jaguars and the Chiefs. It's a 4:30 Eastern kick at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The Duval Divisional watch party gets started at 3:30 at Daly's Place. It's presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, and Patron Tequila. Reserve your seats at jaguars.com. The parking lots are opening very soon, if not open already. 3:30 official start time. The line outside is already building, and it's going to be a massive crowd, we're told today. So be ready, and this is going to be a fantastic watch party. 4:30. What a game it should be today. Mike Dempsey with us now for a look around the NFL on divisional playoff weekend.
So we're about an hour and 40 minutes away from kickoff of the Jags and the Chiefs. Of course, 3 other games taking place here on divisional playoff weekend. Tonight at 8:15 Eastern, the 9-7-1 New York Giants face off against the Philadelphia Eagles at 14-3. Philadelphia swept the 2 regular season games between the clubs, but that did include a Week 18 win in which the Giants rested a lot of key starters. The Eagles have lost only 1 game that quarterback Jalen Hurts was able to start this year. He will be going for Philadelphia tonight. They beat the Giants 48-22 in early December. Miles Sanders in that game ran for 144 yards with a pair of touchdowns. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern time, it's 12-4 Cincinnati traveling to Buffalo to take on the 13-3 Bills. The 2 teams had their head-to-head matchup wiped out in Week 17 with the Bengals leading 7-3. After Bills safety Damar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest on the field. Hamlin, of course, has improved dramatically since then and has been out of the hospital for over a week now, so that's been great news. Cincinnati goes into the game shorthanded on the offensive line, already without right tackle Lyle Collins, who tore his ACL in December. The Bengals are also going to be without starting left tackle Jonah Williams and right guard Alex Kappa due to various injuries tomorrow. And at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow, The 12-5 Dallas Cowboys are in San Francisco to take on the 13-4 San Francisco 49ers. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott coming off perhaps the best game of his career after throwing for 4 touchdowns and rushing for another in the Cowboys' wildcard round win over Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, 49er rookie quarterback Brock Purdy ran his starting record of 6-0, including playoffs, as he helped San Fran pass Seattle last week. Purdy has thrown 14 touchdowns against only 2 interceptions in those 6 starts. Cowboys offensive tackle Jason Peters has been ruled out of that game with a hip injury. Earlier this week, the Buccaneers fired offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich after 4 seasons in that role with the club. Leftwich, of course, a former Jaguars first-round pick who was 24-20 in 4 seasons as the Jaguars starting quarterback. He was a candidate for the head coaching job here in Duval that eventually, of course, went to Doug Peterson a little over a year ago. Another former Jaguar has been getting attention in the current coaching cycle as Keenan McCardell has emerged as a candidate for the offensive coordinator role in New England. McCardell played wide receiver for the Jags for 6 years, beginning in '96. He was, of course, the Jaguars wide receivers coach for 4 seasons, beginning in 2017. Kansas City offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy could be coaching his last game with the team today if the Jaguars are able to pull off the victory. Bieniemy's contract is up after this year. He's interviewed for the head coaching position with 15 different NFL teams in recent years, never once landing the top job. That includes an interview for the vacant Colts job as recently as last week. And around the AFC South as well, new Titans general manager Rand Carthon says he'll need time to evaluate this year's film before deciding on a course of action at quarterback. Ryan Tannehill was 6-6 in 12 starts for the Titans this year. Tennessee could save $27 million in cash and over $18 million in cap space if they decide to move on.
There's your look around the NFL, and if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. Loaded with impressive capabilities and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between, this truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mike Tirico had the call of the Hall of Fame game back in August, and he has the call of today's game in the divisional playoff round on NBC Sports as well. It's been a long season for the Jaguars, hopefully a little bit longer as well. I asked Mike Tirico this week about the comeback Cats and the historic rally last week against the Chargers in the wild card playoff game.
No doubt. The picks are one thing. You know, the ball bouncing off the head of the gunner in special teams to force the 5th turnover. Then you're like, okay, it's not our night. Let's remember we won the division, put up a banner at the start of next season. Here we go. And then the comeback begins, which, you know, it's interesting when you really start to look at it now, JP, over this season. A lot of comebacks have happened in the NFL. And I think that's an awareness with players. I think they know we can do this. We can get hot. And maybe as much as any sport, even though it takes so long to score, man, you really feel momentum build on a team. And when you get conservative on offense and you throw the ball as much as the Chargers do, it allows a comeback like Saturday night to happen. And Jacksonville took advantage of all of its opportunities all the way through the very end.
It was a perfect storm, and the Jaguars are the beneficiaries of that, now playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Tirico with us from NBC. Well, not only in that game, but for the season. I mean, this team was 3-7 after Week 11 and 4 games back in the division. It took not only them figuring it out on their own and the quarterback play and all that, but an epic collapse by the Titans in the process. All that was a perfect storm, but like we talked about in the Hall of Fame game, before that game, Doug Peterson's impact on this team and the culture around here, there's nothing better to prove that the culture is right. Is these guys were out of it and they stayed in it.
And to look at that in a more recent and granular way, I was looking at Doug Peterson's face when Trevor had interception 3 and then interception 4, and Doug didn't panic. He didn't look angry. He wasn't fuming. He wasn't, terse. He wasn't, looking over saying, "Can we get CJ warmed up here?" It was a professional calmness. And that comes from being the guy who's played the position and knows that you've got to let the last one go and get to the next one. All time invested in football on what just happened takes away from full attention on what's going to happen and ends up hurting you. So I really thought that was a great manifestation of what we talked about in the preseason. People talk about with Doug over the years, a professional, experienced, former quarterback, knows what the heck he's doing, and knows that when rough waters come, you've got to be even more calm. And that transmits itself to this team. And I think you saw that on Saturday night.
Mike Tirico with us. Well, a lot of that comes from Andy Reid, too. Obviously, the connection of these two goes back to the mid-'90s in Green Bay. We talked about it Week 10, obviously, but here they are again matching wits in the playoffs.
It's the best. It's one thing. Yeah, this guy played for him. He coached on his staff. That's cool. It's great. This is so real. And I'll tell you why I think it's more real than most of these nice stories, JP. When you think about it, Andy Reid became a head coach in the NFL for the first time. Who did he trust to be his quarterback and to get his system going? Doug Peterson. Andy Reid comes to Kansas City. Who's the one guy and all the assistants he had through all those places? Who's the one guy he trusted to be the offensive coordinator? Doug Peterson. So the most important positions for a head coach, when you talk about offense, quarterback, offensive coordinator, both times Andy Reid's gotten a head coaching job, he's chosen Doug Peterson. And you think Andy Reid's good? He's top 5 all-time in wins in the history of the league. Guy knows what he's doing. So to me, it's 23, 24 years of a relationship, but it's also a long-term trust pattern that is similar when you look at each guy for how they treat their players, how they go about their job, and what their teams do on the field. It's one of the better teacher-pupil deals that we've had in quite some time.
Hey, Mike, this is the kind of the front end of what could be a golden era of quarterback play in the NFL. And all these guys in the playoffs are 29 years old or younger, all 8 of them. And it feels like Patrick Mahomes is about 40 years old already, but he's 27.
Right.
He's not going away anytime soon.
No, I'm worried that Patrick's going to be able to make it through the game at his advanced age. I hope that they're able to kind of go easy and be able to hand the ball off, because I don't think he can make it 4 quarters as the old guy. Yeah, I started looking. It's the first time in 20 years we've gotten to this point. We always say divisional weekend is the best weekend of the year. The best teams end up here, right? You either had to win your division or win a playoff game. No flukes get here. Well, when you look around this weekend, for the last 20 years, we've had Manning or Rodgers or Brady. And this is the first time we have none of them. So we know this generation has arrived and is coming, and this weekend is symbolic to me because this generation is now taken over the stage. And Mahomes is great in so many ways, an MVP this year in all likelihood. And what you saw in Trevor's second rookie year this year was a guy who is figuring it out and learning, like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert, who you guys saw in person in the first half, looked great. I mean, man, we are very fortunate in the AFC. We're going to have some really, really good football with some terrific young quarterbacks for many years to come.
The full conversation with Mike Tirico of NBC available on the official Jaguars podcast network. That's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. Also on Jaguars.com. Just click the podcast link at the top of the homepage. Up next, Inactives, plus a pregame huddle-up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Oehser at Arrowhead. We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff for the AFC Divisional Playoff game, the Jaguars and the Chiefs. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash. Made fresh. Dailies.
How far should we go? When it comes to the health of children, we will stop at nothing, focusing on prevention as much as cures. Working with community leaders, educators, policymakers to make every child's world a place for them to thrive. Going to the nth degree and beyond. Nemours Children's Health, well beyond medicine. Join the journey at nemours.org/beyond.
Your pet means the world to you, so Pet Paradise created a slice of paradise just for them. Pet Paradise is your complete pet health care destination with resort-style day camp, overnight boarding, professional grooming, and compassionate veterinary care from New Day, all located under one roof. Pet Paradise has over 50 locations to serve pet fanatics like you nationwide. Book today at petparadise.com, the official pet care provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. It's a 4:30 kickoff time. The AFC Divisional playoff game, the top-seeded Kansas City Chiefs at 14-3 host the 4th-seeded Jacksonville Jaguars, now 10-8 after last week's win over the Chargers. Let's get to the inactives for today's game, and the Jaguars have 5 players down. They are the same 5 they've had the last few weeks. Wide receiver Kendrick Pryor is down today. Cornerback Monteric Brown will not play. Cornerback Gregory Jr. is out. Outside linebacker Deshaun Dixon is inactive, and defensive lineman Jeremiah Ledbetter is out as well. Coy Cronk elevated from the practice squad on game day.
Officially 7 inactives for the Chiefs. In addition to that, they are in the window where they could have activated Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but opted not to for this week. They still have another week to decide whether they're going to do that if they advance. The ones who will officially be inactive today are backup quarterback Shane Buechele, wide receiver Mecole Hardman, defensive end Joshua Kaindoh, defensive end Malik Herring, center Austin Ryder, tackle Darian Kennard, and wide receiver Marcus Kemp among those not suiting up for KC.
All right, the inactives are in, and from the looks on the television, the snow is beginning to fall in Kansas City. Let's go to Arrowhead Stadium. And Bucky Brooks and John Ogier are in a nice warm press box upstairs high above GEHA Field. And how we doing? This is obviously an unbelievable thought that the Jaguars are even here today, guys. It's amazing.
Yeah, and, I wasn't overly concerned about the weather all week, but this snow's coming down pretty good, Buck. As a player, tell me about this.
It's so unbelievable because it literally just flipped.
Yeah.
I was just on the field walking around. It was clear. It was great. Then all of a sudden it's like a snow globe. Now it's snow coming down. As a player, it shouldn't affect much early in the game. These teams, well, the Kansas City Chiefs in particular, are used to dealing with inclement conditions in terms of throwing the ball and doing what they normally do. For the Jaguars, it might take a little getting used to, but there have been some games to prep them. The wet game, Philadelphia,
sure.
The game against New York when Evan Ingram had a big game, and we talked about how he caught the ball and having to concentrate. And so this team is ready for it. I don't think it'll be a major factor.
All right, guys, let's talk about the matchup a little bit today, and let's talk about the running game to start off with here. Travis Etienne only had 11 carries the first time they met. He averaged 4.1 yards a pop, which is about league average. Nothing spectacular, but not too bad. How big of a factor does he need to be today if the Jags are going to win this football game?
He needs to be a major factor. In these games, as we get closer and closer to the biggest game, the Super Bowl, it becomes more about players than plays. And your stars have to play like stars in these games. And so Travis Etienne is going to have to be a monster. He needs to be able to affect the game not only as a runner but as a receiver. And he has to have well over 100 scrimmage yards. That's the magic number for him. He needs to be involved and put his impact on it, and so 100 scrimmage yards is a magic number for him today.
Yeah, I think he needs to be involved. I think he needs to be involved early. It feels like they need to get that established. I think nerves early on, I don't know if it's nerves, but whatever, Trevor Lawrence has had slow starts. It seems that a way to counter that and to help that situation is to have ETN start fast. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, this team is at its best when ETN can get around 100, but have a couple of those 100 or a couple of runs in those hundreds be some breakout, flip the field, momentum type stuff that makes the defense have to pay attention to him. I think he's key to that.
Jaguars' offensive line has fared pretty well the last little bit here for this Jags team, of course, keeping Trevor upright for the most part. Challenge today, though, on the interior, Bucky, with Chris Jones, All-Pro, first-team All-Pro this year, and so many sacks, tackles for loss, an impact player there. We know about him, but what about the rest of that group? And, if you can handle Jones, are you okay today?
Oh, I mean, he's the most important player that you have to handle on the front line because he attacks from the inside. And the one thing when it comes to Trevor Lawrence and most quarterbacks is when you get attacked right up the middle, it forces you to flee the pocket. Well, the thing about the Kansas City Chiefs is they have guys on the outside who are also problematic. Frank Clark is almost fully returned to health, and so his speed off the edge could be a factor. George Karlaftis, their rookie pass rusher, is a high-energy guy that makes plays off the edge, and so we have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. It starts with number 95, but we also have to make sure that we take care of those other guys too.
Yeah, JP, all week you and I talked about how do they find a path to victory, the Jaguars. And I think getting him blocked and figuring out a way to attack a secondary with a very good, improving, balanced wide receiver core. The secondary is not great, Kansas City's. It's got 3 rookies. But can the Jaguars protect Lawrence long enough to make that a factor? I think that's one reason they need to stay in this game. You don't need a 10-point lead for Kansas City because then all of a sudden you're throwing into the teeth of that. Stay with them early, figure out a way to get them blocked, and you got a shot in the second half.
Guys, teams have given Patrick Mahomes some troubles in the postseason in recent years by rushing 3 or 4, dropping a lot of guys into zone coverage. The Jags blitzed a ton last week. I feel that's not a great recipe for success against Mahomes. Do you think the Jags can get pressure on Mahomes with just 4 down linemen or even 3 on occasion?
That's the million-dollar question because that's the way the Jaguars have to play to win this game. The teams that have been at their best, being able to slow down the Chiefs, have been able to sit back with 7 or 8 men in coverage, eyes on the quarterback, and dare Pat Mahomes to take a bunch of nickels and dimes, a bunch of checkdowns and short underneath throws, and see if they could drive the length of the field. That tests not only his patience, but his discipline when it comes to reading his progressions and those things. The other thing, when you take that strategy, you have to be okay with Pat Mahomes scrambling for a handful of first downs because he is an athletic playmaker from the pocket. But he's not going to run for 100 yards. You can see those yards on the ground. The number one thing you want to do if you're the Jaguars, take away the big play and then find a way to make the Kansas City Chiefs kick field goals as opposed to scoring touchdowns down in the red zone.
Yeah, to me, guys, there's a couple of things defensively that give me hope for the Jaguars. I think they're much more together in the secondary. Remember in that first game, guys running wide open. You had Tony score easily on that play where they just didn't look like they knew what they were doing. I think that's been fixed. You hope going into this. And then I think the pass rush with 4, Arden Key, Roy Robertson-Harris, Josh Allen, those guys, even Trayvon Walker. I think in key situations that bunch can get pressure with 4. I don't think it's going to happen all day. I think the Chiefs are going to score points. But I do think this pass rush in big situations can make some big plays today if they're in it in the second half.
The Jaguars back in Week 10 only blitz Mahomes on 1 dropback. It's a season low for Mahomes and for the Jaguars defense, and we'll see what happens today on that front. All right, so tight end, of course, Kelsey. The guy's on his way to Canton, so what do you do with him today, Buck?
Well, he's the number 1 playmaker in their passing game. And earlier in the week, we talked about the order in terms of how do you have to defend them. Travis Kelce is public enemy number 1. And the way that you defend him is everyone has to recognize where he is, but somewhere along the line, you have to make sure that you put your hands on him and disrupt the timing of his routes. Meaning when those ends are Trayvon Walker or whoever's standing up outside, if you're close enough to him, you got to be able to put a body on him and knock him around. he has to endure some physical punishment as he's trying to get into his routes to disrupt the timing of the pass game and force Pat Mahomes to go elsewhere. The other part of it is in the red zone, you have to deal with Travis Kelce. Make sure you double team him, you bracket him. Somebody else has to be a factor. Jerick McKinnon has been their answer to those tactics, but you have to make sure that you don't want to see number 87 spiking the ball in the end zone because he caught another touchdown.
Yeah, JP, when you said he was headed to Canton, I hope you meant now, so he wouldn't be here. Because I think realistically, he's going to get his. The Jaguars have struggled against the tight end historically. They struggled against it this year. I think he's going to get his. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets 100 with a touchdown. I think you almost concede that, and like Bucky said, you make sure that he doesn't have one of those games like Dempsey knows he can have. Dempsey being the fantasy guy tracks Travis Kelce because he's the best. That's what you've got to prevent. And guys, just incidentally, the snow does not seem to be sticking, Bucky, which I think that is key for footing. So I think that's key.
Well,
I'm watching the snow.
It's
I'm
more
obsessed.
key for me. It's more key for me being on the sideline. I ain't worried about it sticking for the players. It's me. I don't want all that falling on my head.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, guys, give us quickly a matchup that you think favors Jacksonville today.
Christian Kirk versus everybody. Christian Kirk versus everybody in their secondary. He should have their way with them. This is a team that lives and dies with pressure, and that's generated by their front four. In the back end, they certainly can be had. And so Christian Kirk being a very polished route runner, he should have plenty of opportunities to make big plays. After that, look for Marvin Jones also to have a big day, because this comes down to a skill position where it's skill over athleticism. I'll take our skill guys dealing with them because I believe they're going to twist those guys in the tops if Trevor Lawrence gets enough time to find them.
Yeah, this may be a little hopeful, but I think Travis Etienne against this front, Jaguars offensive line, whatever. The Chiefs have given up 90 or more rushing yards. I think it's 13 to 17 games. The Jaguars didn't get that in the first matchup. And I thought that was an area that really sort of bit them a little bit, and it was strange because they were a good running team at the time. I think they can take advantage of that matchup, and if they do, then I think the receivers have a big matchup edge because then you're in the game, then you're keeping their pass rush at bay. And I think most of the receivers can win matchups today.
Long sustained drives would be nice for the Jaguars today as well. 10, 11, 12 plays keep Patrick Mahomes over on the sideline. Gentlemen, how was the pregame festivities last night? Sounds like there's a lot of Jaguar fans in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, there are a ton. I'm surprised at how many guys have traveled here. But, yeah, plenty of Duvalls being shouted out. The presence is here. Now, it won't make a dent in the red-out crowd that we're going to see, but certainly there's plenty of teal running around the stadium.
Yeah, I stayed in, trying to rest the voice, trying to get through this one. But I heard and saw that it's pretty intense.
Guys, have a great day today. We'll talk to you later.
Let's do it.
Bucky Brooks, John Ogier out of here. And check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars social channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. We're inside 20 minutes away from Jaguars Radio Network coverage with Countdown to Kickoff. That starts at 3:30 today. We'll return, though, with Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. The Jaguars and the Chiefs coming up in an AFC Divisional playoff game in Kansas City. Kickoff time, 4:30 Eastern. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
What do you call a group of friends who wear the same jersey for good luck, no matter how old it is, and who support their team through thick and thin, week after week, as if the very season depended on it, while tossing the pigskin and drinking Miller Lite? You call it Miller Time in Jacksonville. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2022 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Head Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
It's the New Year bonus sale going on now at Renewal by Andersen. For a limited time, buy one window or patio door and get one 40% off, plus save $25 off every window. No money down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. Offer expires January 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. Call now. License number CGC 1527613.
Travel Camp RV, official RV dealer of the Jacksonville Jaguars, invites you to come shop their huge selection of inventory for your dream RV. With locations across the Southeast, you're sure to find them close by. Get value pricing on the top RV brands in the country, paired with the guaranteed best financing options available. You can also shop their inventory at travelcamp.com. Travel Camp RV has helped more families make more great memories in an RV since 1982. They're excited to add you to the Travel Camp RV family today.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. It's a kickoff time of 4:30 Eastern for an AFC Divisional playoff game. The Jaguars and the Chiefs, GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, the site for today's game. Let's take a look at Divisional playoff weekend getting underway in just a little bit with the Jaguars, of course, kicking it off, but this is arguably one of the greatest weekends in all of sports, really. There's no flukes that get to this level.
No, it's the best football weekend of the year every year in any kind of football. You can roll them all together. This, it used to be guaranteed you'd have the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed in each conference. Well, it ended up that way, but that's not a guarantee anymore with only one team on a bye. But, of course, the Jags, that's been the focus here in Jacksonville. Why wouldn't it be? But tonight you get a rematch of the NFC East meeting between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. Philadelphia swept them this year, but really the only game I think you look to as a barometer was the early December game when the Giants played all of their guys and Jalen Hurts was fully healthy. We don't know if Jalen Hurts really is fully healthy at this stage, but I don't think they're going to hold him back much in this game. That one went 48-22 in favor of the Eagles, and that was a big day for Miles Sanders in that game. 144 yards on the ground, 155 total, scored a couple of touchdowns. So if they could get the running game going against Daniel Jones and company, the New York Giants, they're going to be really tough to deal with. Daniel Jones, by the way, everyone's talking about how hot he is. Well, he's done it twice against Minnesota in the last month. He only has 3 300-yard passing games on the season, only 4 other 200-yard passing games. So if Daniel Jones and company are going to keep it close, it's probably his running ability that does that. It's an 8-point line in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles tonight. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, JP, you get Buffalo and Cincinnati. Of course, this would have been a rematch as well of the Week 17 contest that the Bengals led 7-3 before Damar Hamlin suffered the cardiac arrest on the field. We all know that game ultimately got canceled. And you have to wonder, Cincinnati's not wondering why this is not played at a neutral site like a potential Kansas City-Buffalo game would be. Had Buffalo beaten Kansas City, they would have had the number 1 seed in the AFC. If Cincinnati had beaten Buffalo, they'd be hosting this game today. But I think what it came down to is Kansas City and Buffalo played a different amount of games, whereas the Bengals and Bills, despite their head-to-head matchup getting canceled, both had 16 opportunities. The Bills with a 1-game lead. They are a 6-point favorite in this contest. They're coming in pretty healthy. Jordan Phillips, one of their defensive tackles, is questionable to go. But you've got 3 of Cincinnati's desired starting offensive lineman out. Lyle Collins tore his ACL in December, but 2 more players are out. Alex Kappa, the right guard, and Jonah Williams, their left tackle. So they're playing without 60% of the guys who would normally be the starters. Not like Joe Burrow's not used to operating behind a leaky offensive line, but he's going to have to prove he can get that done once again. Again, Bills favored by 6 there. And then San Francisco hosting the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys had a dominant performance on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dak Prescott maybe playing the best game of his career. Over 300 yards passing, threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for another. Most importantly, did not turn the football over. We know that San Fran has a very good defense, but they're really good at stopping the run. So this is going to be on Dak's shoulders once again, and Tony Pollard catching passes out of the backfield. I think CeeDee Lamb can have a big game here like DK Metcalf did for Seattle against San Francisco last week. But will the run of Brock Purdy come to an end? 6-0, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in that span of time, and he'll take the field as a 4-point favorite against Dallas.
There's your look at divisional weekend kicking off in just a little bit with the Jaguars and the Chiefs, and the Duval Divisional Watch Party gets started at 3:30 at Daly's Place, just a few minutes away. It's presented by Farrah & Farrah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, and Patron Tequila. Parking lots are open now, and the gates will be open very soon. Of course, kickoff at 4:30. Let's go back to Arrowhead and welcome in Jaguars play-by-play announcer Frank Frangie. A light snow falling. The tailgating scene in Kansas City is really unparalleled, and what a scene this should be today in Kansas City for the divisional playoff game. Frank, what's up?
Yeah, it really will be. Hello, JP, to you and Mike. And, you described it right. Nobody tailgates in the NFL quite like the Kansas City Chiefs folks do. It's been cold here, and they've been here since about 8 o'clock, I'll bet you. The tents are all set up. It's crazy here. The snow is falling. It is not going to be quite as cold maybe as we thought, but it looks like it could snow throughout the afternoon or parts of the afternoon. But here's what I'll tell you. I heard there's going to be a great crowd at that watch party, JP. Well, the ones who aren't there are here. In 9 years of doing this, in many years of traveling with the Jaguars throughout the 28 years, I don't think I've ever, at least to me, had it feel like this many Jacksonville fans came on the road. It's an amazing representation of Jaguar fans. We've seen them out at bars. We've seen them. Every time I bump into someone, JP, they're saying, I flew in from Nashville and it was all Jags fans. One guy said I flew in from New York and there was a bunch of Jags fans. So it's going to be crazy how many Jags fans have come here. It really is.
Frank, it's Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, teacher and pupil. They've known each other for about 24 years, I guess. I'm not great at math, but it's a long time. They've been connected throughout Doug Peterson's career as a player and a coach and everything. Andy's got the advantage in the 2 head-to-head meetings as head coaches. He's 2-0. Andy's had a week off to prepare for this game. Doug Peterson, though, has some things up his sleeve as well. This is a battle of wits today between the coaches.
Yeah, it's cool when 2 guys get together that know each other, JP. And Doug also knows Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, very well. But you're right. One thing I take away from the familiarity, they play similarly. They both have creative passing plays. They both really pass to set up the run. They're pass first, run second play callers. They both still call the plays even though they're head coaches. Hard to believe. This is Andy Reid's 24th year as a head coach, all those years in Philadelphia before coming here. He's really one of the good ones. But, yeah, you're right. Both guys are going to want to kind of have something special for their buddy, and I think it'll play out that way. I tell you what, though, I think it's going to be this way for a while, JP. The Chiefs are built for a while. Patrick Mahomes is only 27. The Jags are just getting started. So I think we're going to see a lot of these Chiefs-Jaguars postseason games. I really do.
Let's hope that's the case, Frank. Let's have a few here in Jacksonville before it's all said and done as well. Looking at how aggressive you expect Doug Peterson to be, I think, hyper-aggressive early in the season. I think he backed off a little bit because he didn't need to be quite that aggressive. But you saw last week, 2-point play when they got that extra yard on the Joey Bosa penalty that they didn't hesitate. They went for it. Do you expect today that, touchdowns over field goals is going to be the mantra? Like, are they going to pass up a 38-yard field goal attempt to go for it on 4th and 2?
Yes, I think the answer to that is yes. Whether it's that specific instance or not, I don't know, Mike, but to your larger point, I do. Number one, like you said, that's who Doug Peterson is anyway. He believes in that. He's very aggressive offensively. And I think this is a game he knows he's got to score touchdowns. I think this is a game you go for it on 4th sometimes when you ordinarily wouldn't. I think this is a game you try and steal a possession. I think he understands that. Now, I don't know that they're going to be aggressive as play callers in the regular setting, Mike. because I think you'd rather drive the ball a little bit on the Chiefs rather than have big plays. You don't want to get these guys in a track meet. So I think you may see more runs than you ordinarily would. I think you might see Doug 2nd and 8 run the ball when ordinarily he wouldn't. But in terms of taking chances, which is a different kind of, obviously, aggressiveness, I think you're going to see that, Mike, all day long from Doug Peterson. I really do.
Jaguars defense stood up big last week, of course, in the wild card game and got off the field, allowed only one field goal. Another field goal try went left, and they stood up big in that game. Pass rush has been getting there, but this is not a team you blitz against too much. That front four has to have a big day.
I think you're completely right. I don't think you blitz much at all. You'll send 5 every now and then, maybe 6 once in a while, if I'm guessing, JP. But no, this isn't a team you blitz. What you don't want, JP, is the Chiefs to hit you with those big plays, because they get those big plays and they score quick and this crowd gets into it. That's what you don't want. I would guess that there won't be a lot of blitzing. I would guess there'll be some zone, a bunch of zone. I would guess the plan is keep everything in front of you. Don't let I just said I think the Jags need long scores, slowing drives if they have a preference. I think you want to keep the Chiefs from scoring quickly too. So I would think everything stays in front, not a whole lot of blitzing. Now look, you mix it up, but JP, I think you're dead right. I don't think this isn't a guy you blitz, and this isn't a game where I think you're going to see a lot of blitzes from the Jags defense. I really don't.
Frank, give us an angle or a player matchup that you think really favors Jacksonville this afternoon.
Yeah, I like the receivers against a very young Kansas City secondary, Mike. When Kansas City is this good, and they really are good, there's not a lot of matchups you're going to see that you like. But I can see those 3 receivers who have been so good, the 2 wide receivers, Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and, of course, Evan Ingram, getting some favorable matchups, maybe down the field a little bit. Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, the 2 inside linebackers, are pretty good. But I think the secondary is just okay. I think if you can protect, Mike, I think if you can get some of those receivers matched up. I like Evan Ingram today. I get a hunch Evan Ingram's got a chance to have a big day today. I think if you can get some vertical routes going, I think you can score and move the ball on these guys. That, to me, is the key for the Jaguars offensively.
All right, Frank, bring it home. Have a good one today.
Okay, fellas, thank you.
Frank Frangie from GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, the site of the AFC Divisional playoff game. The Jaguars and the Chiefs coming up in just about an hour. We're back with Jaguars Radio Network coverage and countdown to kickoff. Thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs,